Hello, I'm Karena.
And I'm Jamie.
Welcome to As Told by ADHD. This podcast is a brainchild of two best friends with ADHD who share a passion for learning and a knack for finding the most fascinating tidbits of knowledge. Each week, we embark on a wild and hilarious journey of discovery as we dive headfirst into topics that pique our curiosity. From dark folklore to bizarre statistics, cultural ceremonies to famous dead people, we're here to entertain, educate, and tickle your funny bone.
This week on As Told by ADHD, we're talking about questions that keep you up at night. I don't know about you, but I got a lot of them.
Yeah. Probably one plagues my mind every single night, a new one, and then thinking of that new question causes me to think about all the other questions I usually think about that I don't have the answers to yet.
Yeah, and then so my thought process is usually, okay, I'm going to go to bed. So then I sit down and I go to bed and I'm like starting to drift off and I'm like, well, what about that? Well, now I got to know. I can't go to sleep until I know. So then I'll get on my phone and I'll Google it. I'll find an answer. I'll be like, okay, it's fine. So then I'll start to drift off again. And then another question will come to mind that is related to the other question. And I'm like, oh, I got to know that now. So.
Oh my gosh.
That happens way more often than you think.
So I'm the complete opposite, honestly. I read that if you want to be able to fall asleep, that you should kind of bore yourself. Even though these questions are in my head, like I've been so programmed to not get on my phone when I'm trying to go to sleep that I never usually get the answers to these questions. But having the topic itself made it to where like I just wrote down everything that I remember I think about on like a normal basis, and I was able to find the answers to everything. So, okay, well then let's do the dice roll to see who's going first.
Evens or odds?
Odds.
Evens.
What number was it?
2.
Oh my gosh! Why does this keep... So yeah, the layout of this, we're gonna kind of like it's kind of like a Spitfire type thing. So it's not gonna be like one top person, telling what they found for like a long period of time. We're gonna kind of just like alternate.
So my first question: have you heard the saying, "It's like a canary in a coal mine"?
No.
Okay, so usually, like, I've heard this like twice in the last week, which is like, I'm like, why are people saying that? So I looked it up. So it's like, when people say that, they're meaning like it's an early warning sign of like danger, right?
Okay.
So if you had to guess, like, what do you think, like, where the origin of this came from?
Say the phrase again.
It's like a canary in a coal mine.
A canary in a coal mine. I mean, I guess that makes sense because the canary song and then a coal mine, echoey. Did it originate in America?
No.
No. Because I was thinking like mines, and I know mining was huge.
It wasn't just huge in America. It was huge like all over, especially... So this originated from the UK.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. And it's gonna make you really sad. So,
of course, you would start with the sad one.
Listen, just get it out of the way. So, in the early 1800s and 1900s, canaries were historically used to test for carbon monoxide and other toxic gases in coal mines.
They would send them to their own death?
See, that's what I thought at first. But it was a man named John Scott Haldane. He was a Scotsman, and he was known as the father of oxygen therapy, right? And he did like a bunch of like sciencey stuff before this, but then there were several deaths in coal mines, and they couldn't really figure out what it was at first until they realized, oh, it's gases. Because the carbon monoxide that you smell when you like turn the gas on, they added something in it to make it smell so you can know, oh, I need to turn off the gas.
Yeah, I did know that just from working in news.
Right.
I did
so
know that. Yeah.
It's odorless.
Yeah.
So people didn't know at that time, like, okay, how do we know that we're getting poisoned? There's like a few reasons why canaries were chosen. One, birds, specifically like smaller birds, they need a lot of oxygen to be able
Right.
to fly, basically.
Right.
So they breathe in a lot more. Two, canaries, especially male canaries, they sing a lot. Like they're like almost constantly doing a little beautiful little song, and they're like doodle-doo, doodle-doo. So what they decided was they were gonna take these birds in cages down into the coal mine. And so they would be affected before any humans would. Because like even like the smallest amount of carbon monoxide would affect it.
Right.
So then this Haldane fella, he's like, well, we don't want them to die. So how do we get them to survive? So there were a couple of warning signs that would happen if a canary was being affected by carbon monoxide. First would be they would stop singing. Second would be they would collapse.
Right.
And if either of those things were to happen, then the cage that they were in, it was like a box. And it had like a special grate and a window. And if either of those things were to happen, the coal miners would close it, and then it had a little oxygen tank on it, and it would pump oxygen in.
Oh. Yeah, so they would have to work. I feel like they would have to work rather quickly to shut that oxygen tank, though, because they would. Because, I mean, since the birds breathe so fast, like, they would die fairly quickly because it would pump through their bodies quicker. So, like, they would probably have to work really, really quick, yeah?
Yeah. Well, yes. So the miners would like take the canaries with them, and they would have it next to them. So while they're mining, they're singing, they stop singing, bop, close.
Oh, okay. So they would bring it in while they're working. This wasn't just a test. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's where I got confused. I thought like they were running like a test with canaries.
Mm-mm.
Like
it was like
isolated. Okay.
No. And then it was also like said the miners actually got really attached to these birds. So they would freak out if they would like start to show signs. They'd be like, bop! And then they would like, get the fuck out. They'd be like,
with this box that was more than likely like steel, like a metal box.
It was kind of a metal box, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, miners I feel like are pretty strong because they gotta go.
That's true. That's true.
Anyway, in 1987, they stopped using canaries because they had electronic gas detectors. And then soon after, it followed that it was illegal to do that.
I mean, yeah, it is animal cruelty, even if they were like purposely bringing them in there so to get poisoned so that they can be warned. Yeah. We're so different.
But we're so similar.
That's true. But like we're so different, but at the same time, like I feel like the stuff I wrote down is not as entertaining, but you're just like a very naturally entertaining individual. Like you find this stuff and you're just like, this is so entertaining to me. And it 100% of the time is entertaining to somebody else too. Does that make sense?
Stop it.
I don't know if that makes sense. But that makes, yeah. My question, I'm already so self-conscious of my questions.
No, but
don't be self-conscious. It's just stuff that's like
stuff you want to know. It's stuff that keeps you up at night, and that's different than what will keep me up at night. Like, why the hell would they have canaries in coal mines?
Yeah, that's true.
And it was really weird that like it was said multiple times this week. I was like,
that is crazy. Maybe that's a thing that they still say commonly where you live as well.
But okay, so my turn. My first question. It came because my brothers, 3 of them, they're at my house last week, and I have this little plant, and they decided to pick up this little plant, and as boys do, they want to cause pain to the other one. This little plant was a cactus. This was the 3 younger ones, but the oldest of the younger 3 is 25, then 21, then 18.
I can't.
The 21-year-old grabs the cactus, and he brings it over to the 25-year-old and the 18-year-old and was just like, touch this. My brother, the 25-year-old, decided to just full send it, and he just kind of grabbed it. And of course, it hurt. So
Why? 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 Why?
Why?
Sorry.
So he yelled, and he was like, man, that hurt. And we both looked at him and we're like, we didn't tell you to just grab it, like apply pressure. But anyways, so that begged the question as to like,
why your brother would do that? Yeah.
Well, yes, of course, but like he's a boy at the end of the day.
I don't think that that's a boy thing. I don't think that that's a gender thing at all. I think that's a him thing.
The only reason I beg to differ is if you are a boy who was raised with other boys. That means 2, 3, 4 other brothers that are in the similar age field. You just naturally dare them. It's just like a natural instinct, I think, amongst brothers.
Yeah, but listen, I have 2 sisters, and me and my sisters would dare each other to do stuff too, but we never did stuff like that. We did it the smart way. What do you mean?
I mean, yeah, I don't know. It was hilarious. I think
so
a part
dumb.
of me thinks he was doing it to try to be funny because everybody was watching. So, I mean, that could have been the thing too, but I think he also really hurt himself. But anyways, so with that's why it became a question, because I was like, why are cacti so spiny? Is it a defense mechanism? Has it always been like that? Like, why are they so stingy? It was because it's a natural defense. It developed through evolution, but for 2 reasons. So 1, the spines were leaves at one point. Cactus had like normal leaves, like a flower.
Oh yeah.
Just like normal, just little. And then evolution happened, and everything just kept drying, and then those pretty leaves started to turn into little daggers. Why? Because 1, water conservation. I did not know that. I did know
that one.
I did not know that they evolved into smaller pointy things for water conservation, because leaves on plants, and this is all plants, I did know this, they're water suckers. When I was looking it up, like over millions of years, the cacti adapted to the drier environments because of all of the, historical phases the earth went through. They kind of had to adapt. But it's also because of defense, since they are a very water dense plant. Since they're in these dry environments, like, of course, animals are going to try to get water wherever they can. So it was a defense mechanism, but of course, the animals also had to evolve to be able to, like, take the spines, because it was like, either we eat this and hurt, or we die from being too parched. Die of dehydration. So, of course, animals had to adapt to this too, because it was either eat and it hurt a little bit or die from dehydration. So you really didn't have many choices here. So a couple different animals that were able to adapt to this were animals like roadrunners, which are so cool. Mimi, exactly. Thank God you said that. I was hoping you would. Mimi. And and iguanas, like the Galapagos land iguana, they are like the pros of getting the prickly pear fruit. And prickly pears is like what I thought of initially, because there's some like prickly pears like around here, surprisingly. Like people have them up around their mailboxes and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I was wondering about that, because I know and I've heard that their fruit is really good. It's just kind of hard to eat, obviously, because there's spines all over it. And then, of course, camels. Camels can freaking eat anything. They're literally just garbage disposals. They can eat it all. But yeah, I was curious as to why the prickly. Yeah, that was my first one.
That goes into my next one kind of well. Have you ever wondered why chameleons change color?
I'm actually very curious. I don't know this one.
Okay. So they change colors for a couple reasons, but I thought this would go in really well with the one you just did, because it is also evolutionary.
Really?
Yeah. So
that's cool.
So okay, basically the scales of a chameleon is like a disco ball, kind of. It's like a bunch of tiny little mirrors.
I can't do that. Okay, I can do that. Never mind. I was like,
I was reflecting the light. But yeah, it's like made of organic crystal material that like they grow.
That's
and
crazy.
Like it reflects pigment around them, and like when they're closer together, it makes more like blues and greens and stuff like that. And when they're farther apart, it makes like more of like reds, which is really super cool. And they do this, and most people think it's like for a camouflage reason, but like it's thought to be more likely that it's like to convey their feelings.
A mood ring?
Mm-hmm.
They're a walking mood ring?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
But they do use it as camouflage sometimes.
So do they have like is it like a muscle contraction type thing? Is that how they can like cluster together and like separate?
I think so. But it's like, I think it's a little bit different than a muscle contraction. I think because it's like specifically just their skin that does that.
So do they have an original color?
I don't know.
I know. That's philosophy.
All of them is the original color.
All of them. It is a piece of them. That actually, so your chameleon goes into my, like, not my next one, but one that I have, because you're talking about like reflections and light and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And that is, how do mirrors work?
That's crazy.
Because it's been going viral on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, like all over the place. You have these people, just a certain demographic of people.
Okay.
But they go up to a mirror. They take a towel. So say I'm looking in the mirror. They take a towel, and I have a notebook right here. I'll use this as an example. And they'll just like put the towel in front of them like this. Mm-hmm. Right? And then someone will go to the corner of the mirror where you can still see like reflections, and you can see the person behind the towel, and they're just like, how is this happening?
Oh my God.
Oh, how does it still see me? Like it's a thing, like it's a person. They're like, how do you still see me? How does it still see me? How does this happen? Like blah blah blah, right?
Are people
and the
really
crazy
dumb?
Parts are just like, we're being watched, right? Like crazy stuff.
What?
Crazy stuff. But anyways, so I mean, I knew that it was like a light thing, like how mirrors work, but I didn't know exactly how it worked. So for those people who've seen those viral videos,
are you doing like a how it's made thing? Because I've always wondered what's behind it, like behind the glass.
I did not do like how it's made, but let's Google that just for shits and giggles. We're just gonna Google that
part of the
after.
episode.
Okay, how do mirrors work? Let's get educated real quick. So obviously, light reflection.
Mm-hmm.
Like everybody should know this.
Yes.
Light reflection. Okay, so when light from an object, like how my light is hitting my face right now, hits a mirror, because light doesn't just go right here. It's going right here, going back that way, and wherever else light can be bounced off. Okay? That's why this room is lit up right now, because light's just going ding, 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 ding. Okay? So, when light from an object hits a mirror, it bounces off at that same angle that it arrived. So your eyes see the reflected light and it interprets it as it's coming from behind the mirror, which is why you see your reflection in the mirror. So, like, even with the towel, like, you still see yourself because light is being reflected off from a different angle, right?
Okay.
So, partial coverage. So when you cover part of your reflection with the towel, not all angles of reflection are blocked. A mirror reflects light from every single point of the room. And where you have your camera recording yourself, or where somebody has a camera recording themselves, the camera is positioned in a way that it captures light bouncing off the mirror from the other side of the towel. Like, it just like, you can't escape light. Is pretty much what we're saying here. Like, you can't escape it. So sometimes the hidden part isn't actually the person. So light is being stopped on that section of the mirror, but where that light is coming from is just somewhere behind you. You can still see the person in front of the mirror, but you might not be able to see, like, the far left side of them or the far right side of them, right?
Yeah.
Because you're blocking that object that's reflecting that light. I don't know if that makes sense, but mirrors today are usually made through a process called silvering through aluminum, which is used instead of silver. So apparently they used to use silver to make the mirrors. So the base of the mirror is almost always flat glass because it's a smooth surface and it's transparent, which kind of helps take to the aluminum better. The metal coating is next. So they'll take the aluminum and they will pour it on that glass, and then the glass is placed in a vacuum chamber and the aluminum is vaporized. It's turned into a fine mist, and then it condenses evenly onto the glass surface, creating the shiny reflective layer. Now, what used to happen when they would coat it with silver, they would pour a thin layer of real silver on glass, and it would cause a chemical reaction, which is how you would get your reflection the way that you did.
But that's way too expensive these days.
It did give us a fun fact. It says, in ancient times, people polished stones like obsidian, which is volcanic rock, essentially, or metals like bronze and copper to make early mirrors. The silver on glass method was invented in the 1800s and completely changed how mirrors were made. So,
Interesting.
little tidbit of information for you. But yes, nobody is watching you, and the mirror does not have a brain.
Nice. So, I kind of have 3 questions that kind of go into each other, but I only want to do 1 or 2 of them. Okay. So, my first question is, does, like, the blueness... Okay, so we all know, like, the sky, right? It's
you know
blue.
the sky. Yeah, I know
We
you.
all know the sky. But, like, it's blue from, like we see blue when we look up at the sky, right? And that's done by, like, the atmospheric pressure and, like, different, like, levels of humidity, blah, 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 right? That's a whole nother can of worms. But I was like, does the blueness of the sky change how we perceive color around us?
Oh.
Yeah. The short answer, yes, it does.
Okay.
The long answer is a lot of scientific stuff that I don't really understand that much, but here's, like, what I understand from specifically the science of it. Our brains are super, super cool, right?
They are. I agree. I love my
They're
brain.
super, super cool. And So our brains are almost always altering the way things look to keep it consistent in our, like, how we perceive it.
Okay.
So, yes, the blueness of the sky will change the color, or not like it doesn't change the color. It just like makes it look a little different than it did like in a different shade of blue, you know?
Okay. Yeah.
But our brains are constantly like changing the scale of hues and things to like get us to always see the same color. Isn't that really cool?
Wow.
I know. Isn't that so cool?
That is really cool.
Okay, but then also there are some cases in some people that their brain like will like kind of glitch, right? Let's say the grass is green, like you always see green grass, right? And then
Right.
it'll be brown all of a sudden, and you're like, "What?" But it's just your brain just is like glitching, trying to get like back to the color that you
You know
usually
what?
see.
That makes sense. Like when you're blindfolded or something, and like blindfolded well, like no light is coming in, and then you take it off and open your eyes, your brain is just trying to process. That's why we go like, because our brain is trying to like process.
So that led me to my next question is like, why is the ocean blue? Like, why do we see blue when we look at the ocean? Especially like deep ocean.
Yeah.
Also, a couple reasons for that. So because of the molecules in the water, it kind of absorbs the red that our brains usually perceive. Like it'll like absorb it in a way that it's like kind of like a prism, you know, like one of those like little prisms, and then the light shines through and it's a rainbow. So yeah, if like you see the prism and then the light, it will like absorb it to where it like cancels it out, and then it'll like take the blue and expand it. Is the science behind that.
Interesting.
Right, so that's why it looks blue. And then in some cases it'll look green and sometimes even red, like depending on like certain aspects, right? Because like if you think of like red lakes, it's usually has something to do with like the sand or the mud underneath.
That makes a lot of sense now.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and so it also I learned that light usually penetrates up to like 656 feet, but it cannot, there's no light past like 3,280 feet.
Because of the molecules in the water.
Yeah. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, it makes me curious now how the lights work underwater now, though. Like submarines and divers with the flashlights. Like, how far can light travel?
I think it depends on like the pressure, the amount of pressure that there is, but I also think it depends on, because like when I say light can't penetrate, it's meaning like natural light.
Well, no, that's what I mean. Well, I knew that, but I was just thinking like if I was underwater and I have a flashlight, since the molecules are like do mess with the perception of what we see, like how far can light travel? Yeah, that's.
I think we gotta ask some scuba divers. Honestly.
So my next question is another like personal thing that has to do with me that I was just really curious about was, why do we shed so much hair? Like, even if you take care of it as much as possible, your hair's still falling out. So, a quick hair lesson on growth and growth cycles. I found out that our hair is on growth cycles. I did not know that. I was raised knowing that our hair is waste. Like, it's just, you know, getting expelled from our body. So I didn't know that there was like a cycle necessarily behind it on its own. Hair goes through a growth and rest cycle. The anagen cycle is the growth cycle. So we're constantly in, you know, that phase. Like your hair strain, your follicle is just growing. It can last years, it can last however long, where it's actively growing. And then it goes into catagen, which is the transition phase, which lasts a couple weeks, where your hair slows its growth and your follicle shrinks. And then you hit the telogen phase, or resting phase, and this one lasts months. So your hair stops growing and a whole new hair follicle is growing, like in your head. So that's what causes it to kind of like start getting weak. It's kind of like a new tooth. So it's just like growing, and then it will eventually push out that 10-inch piece of hair that you spent, you know, God knows how long growing out, and then you're just starting all over, which I thought was annoying to me, because it's just like you put in all this work to grow your hair just for it to get pushed out. So like a little baby stub can just sit in its place. I
grew that hair myself.
I worked so hard, and people work so hard on their hair.
Mm-hmm.
That's like their baby, and it just doesn't matter.
Right.
So then the exogen phase, where the new hair pushes out the old hair and the old hair falls or shed. Now, the average person sheds 50 to 100 hairs a day. I'm on the high end of that spectrum. I lose a lot of hair. Now, if I have my hair in like a protective hairstyle like this, like obviously hair is not going to fall out. Extra shedding, of course, can come from hormones. So pregnancy, period, XYZ, stress, of course, and then habits. So all of our hair follicles are in different stages of those cycles. So your hair falls out. So actually falling out, it's like 50 to 100, maybe more. But if you touch your hair a lot, run your fingers through it, wash it daily, brush it a lot, it loosens the other hairs. So if you do any of these things, the hairs that are in the telogen phase, while it's resting, it's already kind of like getting ready to leave. Like it's just kind of there. But it's like loose because that new hair is developing. So it's just like a very sensitive area. So when I found that out, that kind of gave me some peace of mind.
Right. I actually did a little bit of looking up on this a really long time ago, because I was like, why do like men lose hair like more often than women? And it's because a higher testosterone. Testosterone is what makes your hair fall out.
Yeah. I mean, there's millions of factors that make your hair fall out too.
Yeah.
So, what's your next one?
My next one. Okay. On the subject of water, for me, I have always asked myself, how and why do our fingers and toes and feet and hands get wrinkly when they're wet?
I hate that feeling.
There's a reason why you hate that feeling. Science. Science. So I mainly wanted to know how it happens, because I kind of already knew why it happens, or part of the reason why. So like I feel like everybody knows that like why it happens is so we can like grip things better when we're submerged in water for longer periods of time.
Right.
That's one of the reasons why. The second reason is our bodies go into fight or flight, because it's like we're not supposed to be in water that long, and it shocks your nervous system, and it's like we gotta get out as best we can, and so it wants us to be able to grab things to get out.
Our body makes tread.
Yeah. Like tires, yeah. It's like, we gotta get out of here. And like,
that's crazy.
And then like learning, that's one of the reasons. I was like, well, how does it happen? And it's called vasoconstriction, which like happens when you're in fight or flight. All of your like blood vessels constrict, and it takes all of the blood to your major organs so you can survive, right? That leaves all of the blood flow like not going all the way to your fingers and toes, which is why they get so wrinkly.
I'm just stuck on the fact that we're all just a Goodyear commercial.
Oh my God. I can't.
That's crazy.
Anyway, so that was one of them.
My next one. So I have a kitten. Her name is Poppy. But when I first got her, Jamie pointed this out to me. I was on FaceTime with Jamie and she was just like, I can literally, why is she purring so loud? And I was like, I don't know. Like, she was just such a little, like, she literally could fit in the palm of my hand, but she could purr so loud.
Well, no, I think it was more of like, what is that sound? And then you were like, oh, she's purring. And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Cool.
Like, this little thing, she's a little motorboat. But it's the question is, she really is. I was wondering, how do cats purr? And I found out that it's something that's not fully understood. It's a little bit of an enigma.
That's okay. So, quick interruption. The chameleon stuff, they didn't understand it until 2015.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Anyway.
They have most of this down to a science, but they can't figure out the brain signal. Because, of course, everything that we do, like me, my hand, moving my hands, my mouth, all this kind of stuff, it's because my brain is telling my body's muscles and stuff like that to do X, Y, Z. So we know everything comes from the brain. But they don't know, like, the signal exactly. They can't trace the signal because it is a really fast signal to, like, the animal's vocal box where it comes from to, like, purr. Because it's like a muscle. It's a muscle twitch at the end of the day. So let's get into it. It starts in the brain. There's a neural connection that sends signals to the kitty voice box. And the voice box, the muscles there rapidly contract and relax about 20 to 30 times per second. Her vocal box is just like a hummingbird, pretty much. 20 to 30 times per second. And the glottis, or her vocal cords, widen and narrow with each twitch. And then, of course, cats have to breathe. So them breathing while that's happening, it's causing the air to vibrate on top of that. And with the air rumbling and this muscle response in the vocal box, it produces the purr. So that's why, like, when they breathe, like, you can literally hear the different purr. It's like down here, and then it'll be up here, and then it'll be down, like, like that. But anyways, as they're breathing, I thought that was very interesting because I thought that they just might have had like a, sounds so stupid saying it out loud, but I thought that they were like almost like a rattlesnake. A little bit. Like they had something special in their body that just kind of rattled. I didn't know it was their vocal box. I had no idea. So I'm about to find out about a new body part on a cat. No, it's just their their voice box doing all of it, together with air. So,
well, I mean, it kind of makes me think of a hiccups a little bit.
That's my next one. Okay, I'm going to do another one.
Yeah.
So, why is getting scared a wives' tale remedy to hiccups?
Which it doesn't work.
So,
in my case,
but yes,
it doesn't work.
It just doesn't really. That's why I kind of see it as like a wives' tale, like an old wives' tale.
But like maybe it's because I am in fight or flight a lot of the time. Because I'm a super jumpy person, and I'm constantly aware of my surroundings unless I'm like at home. And so like if my boyfriend will come around the corner and like I won't hear him, and I'll turn around and I'll be like, ah! So like maybe it's because I'm just so jumpy that like it doesn't work on me. Anyway,
yeah, maybe.
Go ahead. I'm excited.
Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Woo! Did I scare you?
I was expecting it.
Damn.
I had a feeling you were gonna do it. I was like, she's about to do this shit.
Okay, fine. So why do people say boo to cure hiccups? Okay.
Did I scare you? Did I get you?
You scared me so much. You're such a good actress. But anyways, Apparently, like you kind of touched on, a scare activates fight or flight, and then the spike in adrenaline and focus on like that one thing that just scared you can either reset or interrupt the hiccup loop, because you're pretty much like on a brain loop. Like your brain sending the connection to here, and then you hiccup, and then it's going, it's just a constant thing that's happening. So being scared interrupts that loop between the diaphragm and the brain. So you're pretty much distracting yourself, and your body stops the spasm. But it also doesn't work for a lot of people. But I think like it was just like a happenstance. Like it was just something that just so happened to work one time, and it just became a tale. Like, oh, a good way to heal that is scaring yourself. But of course, we all know like holding your nose and drinking water. Sometimes the pressure points up here help. Okay, so I did 2. Your turn.
My turn. Okay. Since you were just like talking about kittens, I'm going to talk about an animal. Have you ever looked at an owl and watched it turn its head all the way around?
Yes.
Have you ever wondered how that happens?
It freaks me out. I don't think I've ever like wondered. I just kind of look away quickly because it really freaks me out.
I didn't realize, because like when you look at an owl, it looks like a body and then like a head and then the body.
Yes.
Its neck is so long. Like the vertebrae, it's like this long. So owls have really long necks, and like I'm sure, like, I'll put a picture on the screen, but I'll also, if you aren't watching and you're listening, you can look on our Instagram. I'll have a picture on there for you. But, like, it's like a little body and then a really long neck and then the owl head.
So I didn't know that, but I did see, like, a picture of sorts, like a drawing of what an owl looks like without feathers, which is also really freaky, and it's something I'll never be able to forget, unfortunately. But the neck wasn't like fully extended. It was just like a picture of an owl just like this, and then right next to it was a drawing of it without its feathers.
So if you look at the vertebrae, they have like a big hole in the middle, and that's where like all of the veins and stuff go. So like the veins don't constrict when they turn around. And then this led me to my second question. How come giraffes can't do the same thing? And that's because they have the same amount of vertebrae as humans, but they're just really big.
Are you serious?
Like vertebrae in their neck. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're just really big. They have the same amount of like neck vertebrae as humans, but humans are just small, like a lot smaller.
Gotcha.
And their vertebrae is really dense. Anyway,
my next question is pertaining to mostly people who shave consistently. Not like your face or anything like that, but like your legs, maybe your arms and stuff like that. So for the people listening, have you ever shaved your legs and then as soon as cold hair hits, you get the most painful goosebumps ever?
only if I dry shave.
Only if you dry shave? So I was wondering why goosebumps hurt. Like, why do they have to hurt? Let me start with the definition of a goosebump. It happens when tiny muscles at the base of your hair follicles on your body contract. And when they contract, they, like, pull the hair up. And it makes the skin, like, bunch up. So when I was doing research, it said it can be painful because each hair follicle is connected to a bunch of nerve endings, and when the muscles contract, it causes the sensation, and depending, it can cause pain because some people are just more sensitive. So if you shave or exfoliate your skin too, it causes your skin to be a lot drier when you come out, and that causes like extra sensitivity. So the contraction can be more painful. And then, of course, when you're cold, the blood vessels constrict along with the goosebump reaction, and the reduced blood flow plus the contraction causes a lot of pain.
I may have some advice for you. Okay, it's going to sound real weird. So I usually put lotion on while I'm still wet.
Really?
Like, while my legs are still wet. And that helps a lot with that because
Really?
not like soaking wet, obviously, but just like your
Right,
little
yeah.
damp because it'll soak in better, especially if you're like immediately out of the shower. Like it has to be like immediately as you get out of the shower because your your pores are like open more, so it'll
Right.
take more in. Whereas when you get cold, they close.
We just got a remedy, folks. We're gonna test that
You should.
that remedy and see if it works, and I'll tell you next week if it does.
Okay, so my next one. When you're looking at your keyboard, have you ever wondered why the keyboard's laid out like that?
Yes,
Yeah, there's a reason.
absolutely.
There is a reason.
Like a good one or one that's questionable?
It used to be a good one.
Okay.
So, okay, the original keyboard was A through Z, but there was
Right.
and like the original keyboard was on a typewriter. The little like hammers would like swing based on what letter you're doing, right?
Yes.
Well, when it was from A to Z, it caused a lot of jamming. If you're typing something with like letters that are too close together, they would get stuck on each other.
Interesting.
Yeah, because if the letters were too close together, they would get stuck as you're typing. And then you'd have to take
Right.
time to fix it, so it would slow down the process a lot. So the people who created the original, like A through Z, they were like, okay, this isn't working. So they came up with what we see now as a way to stop that problem from like having so much jamming. And I bet you're wondering, like, why haven't we evolved since then? Because this was like in the like 1860s, 1870s when the first typewriters came out. There have been other renditions of this, other iterations of the keyboard to make it more efficient and more functional. It really started 30 years after this keyboard came about. People started coming up with other ideas to make it more efficient, but everybody already learned how to use the typewriter as is. So it just stuck. And then so other people were like, okay, now we don't have typewriters anymore. We have like computers, like even like early 90s, right? And so they tried to come up with new keyboards. And people were like, no, we're just going to stick with this because like we already know how to use it. So that's why. Okay, what's your next one?
My next one is, why do we wave to say hi? And when I was looking this up, there was a bunch of different like theories, stories, ways it came to be. My favorite one, though, was in Europe, medieval Europe, to be exact, when people would go into a village or a town or a heavily guarded place, they would lift their hands to show that it was empty, to prove that they weren't holding any weapons or anything. So it was like their way of saying, like, I come in peace. So just be like,
I had a
come in
feeling that
peace.
was what it was.
Yeah. So over time, the motion of lifting and moving your hand became like a friendly gesture rather than like a literal check for weapons. After I read that, I was just like, what if every single time I waved at somebody, I just go, I come in peace?
Yeah. Okay, you ready for my next one?
I am.
Okay, did you know that crows hold funerals? There was like a phenomenon that ended up getting studied in the early 2000s because crows, when there would be a crow that died, they would like start cawing and like being really loud and calling all the other crows from around, and they would all come and just like surround this one crow. And people were like, are they having like a funeral? Like, what are they doing? And after studying them, they realized it wasn't actually a funeral. They're not doing it for like emotional reasons. They're doing it to see how that crow died. Like, they're investigating the death of this crow to be like, okay, what is the danger? How do we prevent this from happening to anybody else? And then they also studied that after a death of a crow, they would stay away from that area for at least 72 hours.
What the heck?
Yeah, to like...
It's like a real life game of Among Us.
Basically, yeah. But there was
That's
like this
crazy.
really weird, cool study where like this woman, she like went and stood with like a taxidermied crow to see what they would do, and they started like yelling at her, like wanting her to drop it so they could go look at it, but she didn't drop it, obviously. And then over the next couple of days, I think that she noticed that they weren't coming around, and then she went back until they did come back. It's crazy. Also, ravens also exhibit this behavior, but not as often.
Like, if a crow dies, they're just
Mhm.
like, who saw this? Like, everybody come here. Like, family meeting, town meeting. Who was last here? I wonder if crows lie.
What do you mean?
I wonder if they lie.
About what?
Like, I wasn't
each
here.
other?
I wasn't doing. Like, yeah. Like, what if they
No,
got in a
it's
fight
not-
and one killed the other one, and they were just like, I wasn't here. I don't know.
I think that crows aren't like that. Like, they don't kill each other. They usually, like, it's usually when like there is like they're killed by another animal or they die of natural causes, they'll come up and be like, okay, what happened? What's going on? And
Yeah,
they also noticed that they will convey that information to other crows in other places to like be like, okay, watch out for this thing.
Interesting.
It's a very like community-based thing, which I think is really cool.
And I guess it does make sense too, like a little bit as to why they would stay away from that area for 72 hours, like just in case it was another animal that killed it.
Mm-hmm.
It can't like go back and just think that there's going to be food.
Right. Anyway, what's your next one?
Why do honeybees die after they sting?
Yeah, that's a good one. I've always wondered that, but I never like looked it up.
So why do they die? Well, it's a sacrificial defense. They do it to protect their hive and their queen. So what it is, like their stinger is barbed.
Mm-hmm.
So when they sting, for venom to just keep going in, it sticks. And so when they try to fly away, this part's kind of like gross and really sad. It pulls out all of their main intestinal tract and some other organs from its body, and it flies away and it dies shortly after. I know, it's so sad. But it's a sacrificial defense because as soon as they die or when any bee is in distress, they let out a pheromone. It's like the alarm pheromone. It comes from the stinger, the abdomen, and it alerts other bees to the threat so that they can go. And it's usually just like the guardian bees. The bee's life is essentially to protect the colony. And I didn't really know how to explain it, but it's like one bee has to die in order for like the armies to be called, and then the armies can kind of like take care of business, even though more bees technically die, but the hive is safe, the queen is safe, the worker bees are safe, and they have all the pupa, which is the baby bees that will, grow to be great defenders. Yeah. Great defenders. That queen bee is going to be busy though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the subject of bugs.
Bugs.
Trigger warning for those who hate spiders. This one's going to be about spiders, and if you don't want to hear about them, go ahead and go to the next one. But Karena, you're suffering through it, because if I have to suffer, you have to suffer.
It's a best friend sacrifice, that is for sure.
So, spiders. They have hair and an exoskeleton. And how does that happen? Oh my God. This one kept me awake for weeks. And I never looked it up because I was like, or I did look it up, but I couldn't find the answer I was looking for. And then eventually I ended up talking to someone who loves spiders and like has like pet spiders. And I figured it out. Like, that person pointed me in the correct direction of like what to search to find the answer. Okay. So it's not actually hair. It's called setae or setae, and it's like it like resembles hair or bristles, and it's actually a sensory organ. So they use it to like feel around.
That's even nastier.
Yeah. But I kind of like picture it kind of like a tongue, where like the tongue is super sensitive.
That's why I feel like I think it's just...
Yeah. And then I'm like, okay, does it grow from the spider and through the exoskeleton, or does it grow from the exoskeleton? The answer to that question is it actually grows from the exoskeleton, but it doesn't really grow. So like, you know how spiders molt? So
Yeah.
each molt, like underneath, in like there's like a certain cycle they have, it grows under the exoskeleton on the new exoskeleton. And then when they molt, it's just already ready to go. And that's also how they're able to like climb walls and stuff, because of their little hairy things. Anyway, I'm disturbed by it, and I'm really mad about it.
That's
and
disgusting.
It kept me awake for way too long, and I'm mad about it, but here we are. Okay. And trigger warning.
But the last one, this is my last one that I had. Another personal curiosity, and something, for some reason, I've never bothered to look up. And that is my name. Obviously, there are people in the world with my name, with Karena as their name. Is it spelled Karena? No. It's usually spelled Corina, Carina, or Karina, or Corrina, or something like that, right? So, not saying that there aren't anybody whose names are spelled like mine, because there are, but it's not a super, super common name. So I was like, let me look it up, especially for this story. I can get some cues, aid, and all the good stuff. So the origins of Karena, I found out, has Greek and Scandinavian roots.
Love that.
This is where it gets a little bit basic, though.
Mm-hmm.
Karena, of course, is a variant of Karen.
We knew that.
Not knocking any of the Karens out there, but, you know.
It is.
Karen is a common name.
It is a common name, but it's also like Karen. You know?
Karen, you know? No, like, it is, that name over the last couple of years has been dragged through the mud, unfortunately. It does not account for all Karens out there, okay? I know some pretty cool Karens, so. Anyways. But it is a variant of Karen, but it comes from the Greek name Ekaterine, which is the original form of Catherine.
I love Katerine.
It's Ekaterine, like AI.
Ekaterine? Love it.
Ekaterine.
I still love that.
I know. It's pretty cool. But the meaning is pure.
Cute.
Even though I don't consider myself pure, but it's fine. Fine. I'll take the compliment. But over time, names like Karen, Karena with an I, and Karena, how I spell it, evolved in different regions. So in Italian and Latin influence, Karena, spelled Carina, means beloved or pretty and lovely. And some people will just spell it like mine as like a stylistic variant, it said. And then modern usage, it says Karena has become popular as a distinct, elegant alternative to Karen, especially in like our countries, which is like a English speaking country. And it's often chosen for its uniqueness and soft lyrical sound.
Cute.
I was like, thank you. But so yeah, I'm just a beloved, pretty, pure individual.
Yes, she is. Hell yeah.
So famous historical people with my name spelling specifically Karena. We have Karena Evans, who is a Canadian director and actress. She directed music videos for Drake. She won the 2018 Much Music Video Award for Best Director and became the first woman to receive the Prisms Prize Lipset Award for Music Video Direction. I was just like, that's cool. Another one, Karena Lam. She's a Taiwanese Canadian actress and singer. She in 2015 she won the Best Actress Award at the Golden Horse Awards for her role in Zenaflower, making her the first person to have won all 3 major acting awards at the Golden House Awards.
Good for
And
her.
then one more. Karina Johnson. She is a British theatrical director and producer. She worked at London's Oval House Theatre, Contact Theatre, and Theatre Royal Stratford East. She has been involved in several international cultural collaborations and has directed numerous productions since 1997. So I was just like, that's a good way to make someone feel good. Just hear about all the Karenas out there that are doing great, you know?
Hell yeah.
Who have made big money moves.
Mm-hmm.
So
I have one more. And this one is, it's like the whipped cream on top. And I say that because the question is, what is the original milkshake flavor?
ooh,
Now,
that is a really good question.
this one's going to come with a little story of why I was asked this question.
Who asked you this question?
So, within like the first couple of weeks of becoming official with my boyfriend, I met his brother. And his brother quickly introduced me to their longest running debate that they have going. So, the question is, what's the original milkshake flavor? And my boyfriend's brother's argument is vanilla is it a different flavor of milkshake, or is it the original flavor? Because like if you order a milkshake, the default is vanilla, which I disagree with, because usually when I'm like, I want a milkshake, people are like, okay, what flavor?
Yeah.
So that's my thing, unless they went somewhere and that's how this argument started of like milkshake, original. Like, or like if it's on the menu as like original and it's vanilla. So
Yeah.
my boyfriend's argument is that the original flavor is milk. And you know your girl. I'm the perfect person to get in the middle of this debate because I love researching.
You really are. You really are.
So, what ended up happening is I spent like the next several days researching to find every little bit of information that I could to help squash this debate. They're both wrong.
Really?
Mm-hmm. So, the original milkshake was actually milk and whiskey, because it was created to be a tonic or like a medicine of sorts.
For what?
And this opened a whole new debate.
But for
What do you...
what was it supposed to heal?
Maybe a sore throat? I don't know. It didn't really say. It just said it was a tonic. Like to like a medicine or whatever. But so they're both wrong. So I present this evidence to them. So then, as a good boyfriend should, he's like, okay, so the first milkshake flavor was whiskey, so it's cocktail flavored. And I was like, okay, that's weird that you said it like that, but whatever. So then, his brother started arguing, well, we're not talking about the origin of the milkshake. We're talking about like an original flavor. And like, I disagree, because origin is literally in the word original, because it's talking about the origin, original, origin, which if he listens to this, which I'm sure he won't, I'm probably just starting a fight with him, but but I say that the original flavor was whiskey because of that, because like it was a tonic, so it wasn't flavored, it was just whiskey and milkshake, like ice cream. And my boyfriend stuck with what I said, so Because I'm right.
I mean, but I think also because he's like still he's like half right. He gets like 0.5 of a point, you know?
Right.
Because I was just like, okay, him saying milk.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very logical answer. And if, he ever shows himself on the podcast,
I doubt
you
he
would
will.
agree. He's a very logical
Oh,
minded person. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
his brother is adamant that it's vanilla.
It's not. It's literally historically written that it's not that answer, but everybody's allowed to stick to their opinions.
Right.
Even if you're factually wrong. But anyway.
Well, his like argument was something like the origin is not original, because if that were the case, then we would call cell phones landlines. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense, but whatever. And then I think to just squash the conversation altogether, because it's been like over a year now that I asked that question. And I was like, what was that debate about again? And then I got a wall of texts. And then my boyfriend turned around and was like, okay, just tell him I concede.
He was so ready for it to be done.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah.
I mean, it doesn't mean that he lost the debate, though, because there's actual factual evidence.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, that's it for this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed our back and forth and our spitfiring. And if you have any questions that keep you up at night, please let us know in the comments. We would love to answer those questions for you or have a conversation in the comment section with you about it.
Exactly. And I forgot what I was going to say. My brain went whoop.
Do you want to do the water? Or what did you do nice for yourself this week?
Yeah. What did you do nice for yourself this week? You got some water? Like, what's going on? How you doing?
How are you doing after all that info dumping we just did?
Mm-hmm. Also, if you want another episode like this, where we just answer questions, you can put your questions in the comments, and then maybe we'll come back to this topic eventually, and we'll answer your questions. So.
And with your permission, we'll use your name if you want your name to be on there as well. But I feel like this was so much fun. Fun.
Yeah, it was nice, lighthearted after the last 2 episodes. And next week's episode is going to be a little heavy. It's definitely going to be a 2-parter. So
yeah, sorry, we try. We try really hard to not make them 2-parters, but there's just so much we have to tell you guys.
I know.
So much.
I have so much information.
And I just really need to share it.
You just gotta share it.
I gotta. But anyways, make sure you drink your water.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you do something nice for yourself. Even if it's un poquito. Just do it. Be so nice to yourself. Just do something. Do something.
Mm-hmm.
Do something that releases that little bit of dopamine so that you can just say like, hey, I did it. I did something for myself this week.
And if you're feeling overwhelmed, remember to take a deep breath and hold it for 3 seconds at the top and then let it go. And do that 3 times.
And let those emotions go with it too. Yeah. Treat it like a drain. Release.
What? Like a what?
Release. Like a drain.
Oh, a drain.
Treat it like a drain.
I thought you said like a Jane.
Release.
I was like, who's Jane?
Release. Who's Jane? That's why they taught you enunciation in school. I just need to enunciate more. It's fine. But anyways, we will see you guys next week.
And goodbye.
I'm going to do the same variant, but I'm going to go goodbye. Bye.